So hello everybody, welcome back. I hope that you like this video and that you find it helpful somehow. And yes, we have power today. Making this video to try to be as specific as possible, as in how to plan properly for power outages and other stuff related to your ETIs, as in everyday threats and inconveniences. And so here we go. Grab your coffee, and if you wanted to share with me, you will add it. Links for that down below. And this is I wanted to do this shooting here so that you can see how this place looks like when you have just a tiny bit of lighting. There is several street lamps that are there that are not working, and some that are there that are still not working, and on the bottom part there are areas that do not have street lamps even though that they should, either because they're not working or whatever. But anyway, so power outages will have several implications and several layers, so to speak. The first layer is when power outage happens in your house. Now, this means that whatever happens in your house does not necessarily affect your entire community or the country or the world or whatever it is. And so you need a plan for your house when you have no power on it, either because there was an electrical fire or because you need to make a repair and then you need to shut down several areas in your house, or you have other issues related to a street cable or something like this. And so at this point, most of the times you will have a plan, and your plan must include what are you going to do with the food that you bought, what are you going to do with the pets, and evacuation, as in you're probably going to your mom's house, your sister's house, your in-laws house, or whatever it is, because that is the way to go. The reason being, well, you need showering, you need to do laundry, you need to have a lot of things, and therefore, if it is only your house, then, it's just a temporary thing. For all I know, you can even get to a hotel, and it won't be a problem. And so, at this point, most people will not buy generators or will not, think about this being long-term or whatever. You just kind of go with the thing that, okay, it's a 6-hour outage, 6 hours for today, so I'm just not going to sleep here tonight, and then I'm going to go to another house, and then that's it, no big deal. Now, at this point, you also have to understand that other people, as in your friends, your in-law, your sister, your mother, whatever, they are going to come to your house saying, hey, I have no power in my house today because, there was a rationing system for today, whatever reason, or there was something that happened in the street that, that we are in, and so we are going to move into your house for, maybe 2 or 3 days. And therefore, you need to be prepared both for living and for taking in guests that will be in your place for maybe 2 or 3 days. This means that you need to have extra blankets and extra things, especially in the shower, because most people will leave their houses because they need a shower. Quite frankly, that will be the main reason why you leave to another house. Because, quite frankly, if you have kids and everything, you, honest to God, do not want to leave your house. And most people will go kind of like, why the hell do I want to leave my house? I mean, it is annoying, and it's also like a problem because other people will find out what's wrong with you. And for all I know, if you don't have a lot of good family dynamics or things like this, other people will figure this one out, and there are a lot of implications, and so you do not want to get out. However, there are 3 reasons why you will do it. Number 1, you need a shower. Quite frankly, that will be the main one. Number 2, you need to sleep. If you are the type of person that cannot sleep without the air conditioner, or cannot sleep, without certain routines that include power and things like this, then, you are going to be kind of like, oh no, I'm leaving. And the third one is, oh my God, I need to do laundry. Serious to God, I was supposed to go to a job interview, and I have no clean underwear or whatever it is, and so you go kind of like, oh my God, I'm here to just do laundry. These are the three major reasons. I mean, most people will, if you don't have food or you don't have a refrigerator working or something like this, you can take all your food with you, or you can just, buy an ice chest and get a lot of ice, and you will be done with it. So, the food is not going to be your major problem, but water and having a hot shower and being comfortable for sleeping, those things, you are going to understand their value when you don't have them in your own house. And so you gotta prepare for that, and you gotta be prepared for offering these to the friends that are also going to be there for you when bad things happen. And so at this point, you gotta understand that other people will come into your house unexpectedly, because it's not like I'm going to call you and say, oh, tomorrow I'm going to have a power outage. So no, power outages just kind of happen, and unexpected visits are going to be on the table. And this is going to drive a lot of people crazy, especially, let's say that you go to your mom's house and you go with your wife and they don't get along very well, but at the same time, you're doing it for the kids, and it's important that you keep civil despite the fact that all of this is happening. And so, it's one of those things that it's going to be a test for how many friends do you have, and can they stand with you, or are you going to lose your friends over this type of situation? And also, because when you go to a house and you're with your family may include your pets, and it might include, other things. So, for example, if you are going to your mom's house, but she lives in a building, and in this building no dogs are allowed, and you have a dog, how exactly are you going to pull it together when your mom is saying yes, but the building does not allow dogs, and you need your dog with you? And so you need to have a plan for what are you going to do about that. And vice versa. Let's say that you have a friend who you want to say yes to, but they are allergic to cats, they are allergic to dogs, they are allergic to whatever it is, and you have cats and you have dogs, and then it's going to be a problem for them because they are allergic, and it's not like you're going to just kick out your pets because the person that you're with is allergic, and things like this. And so it's going to be a test of the relationships and a test of the lifestyles that you have. But most of the times, most people will be kind of like, okay, I'm going to your house and I'm just going to take a shower, for God's sake, do the laundry, and then I'm leaving, I'm going back home. At this point, you gotta figure out how exactly are you going to go home when it is pitch dark when you get there. And I have mentioned this before, you probably want to have this solved in terms of your car, and the lighting for your car and things like this is quite important. So the second layer is going to be when the problem is within the street that you have, and then the companies will refuse to fix it because it is too expensive, because they don't have the manpower, or because of whatever reason. And so at this point, you gotta work with your neighbors to fix this problem. For this, you are going, if you're the type of person that suffers from social anxiety and you cannot get along with other people and things like this, I have mentioned this before, you truly need to understand your immunological process, because you want to understand what other people are doing. Because if your neighbors cannot fix the problem, the whole community or that street is just going to go down, and very likely you are not going to have power, like never, or at least not in the very near future. And sometimes it can take even weeks, for all I know months, without you having power, because your street or your neighbors are not strong enough within the community, or because your neighbors are not organized, or because it is just a few streets or a few people in a building or something like this, and so they are not going to be important in terms of the money. Meaning, the government is not going to spend $500,000 trying to, give you power because you are 4 houses or 10 houses in the middle of a street. Unless you're telling me that, this is going to be a situation in which you need to put the power back on, because otherwise it will affect other areas such as hospitals or whatever it is. And so your location is going to play a key role in terms of how fast the situation is going to play down. And at the same time, your community needs to be strong, and so you need to figure out what your neighbors are going to be doing. You can do this by your groups, as in specific groups. Very likely you will need messaging from a specific group. So for example, if you live in a building, you want to figure out which person in your group can handle the information for the entire building and things like this. Because also, if there is a problem with the street or in a particular community, like a small block or a small area that is 5 blocks or 10 blocks or something like this, then it's also going to be a situation in which you need to figure this one out. So you want to belong to several groups, or figure out who that can belong to these groups. There is a lot of people that go kind of like, I can't be in 10 groups because I don't have time, I don't care, and also I am too annoying, or people annoy me or whatever. So the best thing that you can do is figure out who, let's say that your neighbor next door is able to do this, and you get along with them, so the information can go through them. And so at this point, this also means that if you are mad at this particular person, then you are not getting the information. Or if this person is on vacation, or this person left because they are going to their mom's house and things like this, and then you will have no information whatsoever because your contact is limited to only one person. And so you want to have choices, and you also want to figure this one out before hard times, because if you're going to start meeting your neighbors when it is hard times, then it's a very complicated position, because you haven't established a relationship yet, and there will be no trust whatsoever, and sometimes this can be a problem. And so it's very important that you figure this one out. Now, just because there is no electricity in 1 block or maybe 2 blocks, then that does not mean that the whole community, and by community I mean an area that is about, I don't know, let's say 2 miles or 3 miles long, or whatever it is, depending upon your definition of community, but basically it's bigger. And so if the community is having problems because a set of transformers blew up, or a substation blew up, or something bigger blew up, then this one is going to take a while. And at this point in this particular community, a lot of things will happen. The main one is going to be that everybody is going to try to get rid of the food. And so you will see that people are throwing away the food. And the main issue here is whether you want to give it out to animals, or I don't know, but the main problem is going to be with the food, because it's not the same having 1 block of people trying to get ice, for example, in a community, rather than having the entire community. Let's say that there are 500 houses, or there are 1,000 houses. And so you have 1,000 families or houses, or let's say that there are 2 families per house, so 2,000 people looking for ice, because the whole community is without ice. And now you will have issues with food, you will have issues with ice, you will have issues with absolutely everything, because the community is at stake. When the community is at stake, most people will just go, okay, how long is this going to be? Because if it is going to be, just 1 day or whatever, most people will go, no, I'm putting up with this, because I'm not going to go to a hazard of fighting a lot of people trying to get ice, because you are going to spend too much gas, and you are like 500 people trying to get the same ice in the same store. It's just too much of a trouble. I would rather just let it go. So at this point, you gotta figure this one out, because the most important resource that you have is time and fuel. And so the experience will tell you this one. However, if you are not experienced, then you are probably just going to go with everybody else trying to get the ice, and then at this point you will meet other people. You will have a lot of issues with trust and a lot of issues with the neighbors, because you can see how everybody's going to try to fight for the same things, even though they are your neighbors. But at the same time, they're not your neighbors per se, because they might be 3 blocks away from you, so that is a whole distance. And so it's a situation in which you do not want to find out everything about your community the hard way. And so if it is going to be a long-term situation, you need to figure this one out seriously. What are your community plans, and do people have options in your community? Most people at this point, like I said, if it is going to be just one day, 6 hours or whatever, and if you have the hope that tomorrow somebody will come to fix the problem, then most people will just roll with it and say, okay, I have flashlights, and so, just let it go, like I said, because it's not going to be worth your time, your fuel, and your social relationships and everything, just to put a strain on it, just because there is one day that you will not have power. And so it's not the end of the world. And so you gotta understand that one. So, however, if it is a state thing, so for example, you're in Florida, and all of a sudden they say in the news, is the whole state of Florida, then, oh crap. Yeah, at this point you will have people from other states trying to help you, and you will have people that are from this state trying to go to the other states, and then the hotels are going to be overwhelmed, and all of the neighborhood areas are going to be overwhelmed. Think about this as a national emergency, because all of the states that are surrounding Florida will be in trouble, because all of the people that are in Florida are probably going to try to leave. The reason being, well, it's going to take, more than 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, sometimes even 5 or 6 days. If it is 6 days, I have mentioned this before, after day 2, if you are a woman and you have kids and you have a family, it's going to go insane with the kids crying, and women do not handle very well when they are not sleeping well, and if you have issues, it takes longer, and at the same time, if you take too long to leave, then you will not have the choice of leaving, because leaving that place is going to take a lot of fuel that you do not have, and you know that when there is a problem with this, getting fuel is out of the question, and moving without fuel out of the question, and people will be reselling the fuel, that is also out of the question. You need cash, and you will need a bigger plan. And so that is also not the end of the world. You can learn, you can buy a generator, you can at this point, you will have what we say, the emergency management teams. You will have people using generators, people using other sources of fuel. People will figure things out, because they still have hope. Meaning, okay, I am in the US, and the power will come back in eventually. I don't care if it is going to be 5 days or 10 days, but it is going to come back in, because if I am in the US and California and Washington and New York, they have power, then yeah, it's a matter of time. Now, at this point, I gotta tell you that the biggest problem with power is going to be when you cannot have access to the cell phone towers. If the cell phone towers go down, I can tell you that it is going to be mayhem within 3 hours. That one is going to absolutely, destroy a lot of people. People will feel that there is no hope, and people might panic, and people, for all I know, there will be a lot of people that will even be traumatized because there is no internet for several hours. And so that one, you need to have a plan for your own family, because especially with the people that are 30 years or less, because when they don't have internet, they will panic, especially the young ones. And if they don't know how to do things or stuff like this, they will become violent, they will become restless, they will become anxious. You will not be able to handle your own emotions, especially if the woman in your family, as in the mother. If mom is like, I'm tired and I'm pissed and I haven't slept, you have a recipe for disaster. Because remember, the woman is in charge of the family and is in charge of the home. And when things happens to her, it's like, I mean, come on, there is a lot of issues here, because there is even a meme that says, when you have a problem, call 1-800-GRANDMA. Or when you need something fixed, call 1-800-GRANDPA. Sort of like that. So you need to understand that the dynamics are going to change, because there will be a lot of anxiety. And let's say that you depend upon the internet to make money. And so during those 6 days that you have no power, then you will have no income whatsoever. And if you don't have cash and you don't have a plan, then what exactly are you going to do to recover 6 days of absolutely no income whatsoever? And then the overload of all of the work when the actual power comes back in, and then you are overflooded with whatever it is that you work with. And so you need a plan for the internet problem. Especially, like I said, because I have seen videos of kids who are 10, 12, and things like this committing suicide because there is no internet. And serious to God, the parents that are out there that have gone through these things, they keep telling you to prepare for this and to understand the hidden level thing. And I have mentioned this before, but I'm not going to go into the immunological process. I'm just going to tell you that you need to be aware that this is a hidden level. And so you need people that have gone through this, and you need people that will tell you how to recognize the signs as early as possible, because if you don't recognize the signs, then it's going to be too late. And once you are in a hidden level, there is no way, unless you are dead, that you are going to get out of there. And so it's just one of those things. And so, serious to God, you need a plan, because the power outages are extremely hard to handle when they are long, when they are draining you, where they are unstable. As in, let's say that there is a power outage that happens because you went through a hurricane. Then everybody understands that the hurricane is gone, and therefore you will have power back in soon. Therefore you have hope, and you don't have an issue. However, when there is problems in which you are not certain, and you don't know what is going on, and you are unstable because the power is in, on, like a roller coaster and things like this, and you don't even know if you're going to go down or up or stop or you're going to drop, kind of thing. Therefore, you need a plan for handling emotions, especially long term, and you need a plan for communication, because when there is a problem with power, there will be all, and I do mean all kinds of problems with communication. And when there are problems with communication, this means that if you have members within your family that suffer from social anxiety or whatever it is, you will have to face all of this together. And so it's not going to be a bigger problem if you are alone. However, if you are alone and you have no way of having communication and things like this, then it's going to be an even bigger problem, because you will not know what is going on. And if you do not know what is going on, you will not be able to pull a lot of things up, because right now, because we have power and we have a lot of communication systems, you can understand storm warnings, tornado warnings, hurricane warnings, and a lot of kind of warnings. But if there is no power and there is no communications and there is not a lot of things, then how exactly are you going to figure the emergency management system or the weather system or a lot of other systems that are depending upon these things that are no longer there? And therefore you need a plan for those. Now, the best plan for those is going to be using the radio. The radio stations will be asking people to donate fuel for them so that they can keep working with the generators. I have mentioned this before. And so if you need help, for example, getting insulin or getting a lot of medicines or getting whatever it is, you need to go to the radio stations, because the radio stations are the ones that will be able to have a lot of choices in terms of contacts, and people will be able to pull together towards the radio stations. The radio stations are going to be like a beacon, okay? And so that one is going to be key, especially if you have for social anxiety or things like this. And for that, you need to understand which radio station is working, how exactly are you going to contact them, and Very important. Do you trust these people? Because let's say that this is a radio station, but it's only for people who are Muslims, and you don't want to have Muslim people in your group or whatever, or they are Christians and you don't want Christians in your group, or they are unknown and you don't know whether they can actually be trusted or not, or they are from the other political party because they are either blue, red, or whatever it is, and you don't like them, and so it's going to be a thing. So the best thing to do is to develop your own network, as in your 3 favorite local stations, national stations, and state stations, and things like this, and figure out whether you can trust them or not, and then tell your families and others that you can send messages through them in case that there's something wrong. Because the other thing is going to be using cell phones or using phones, but they might not be working, and even landlines might fail. And so, but the radio stations are very likely going to work. And that one is one of those things. I mean, even when we had the national power outage, stations were still up and they were still the best way to go in terms of handling a lot of situations like traffic, accidents, fires, people begging for insulin, people looking for cash, people reselling fuel, whatever it was, the lines, how many people were there, the fuel, when were they expecting to get the freaking fuel, the stations that had power backup and emergency generators and things like this. And so all of these informations you can get through the radio. You can ask them and they will try to figure this one out, especially because this will increase the popularity, and there will be a lot of people that will get to the station and say, hey, I'm the only bakery that is working because we have generators. So, let the radio know. And now, if you want to know what bakery is working, now the radio will tell you this one is the one that have showed up. And so it is one of those things. All of the people that have money will try to flock to these places because it's the only way in which you can reach people that does not require internet and does not require a lot of things. And so, like I said, they will be asking you for fuel. So at this point, you need fuel for trading, you need fuel, and I have a lot of videos about fuel. You need fuel for trading, you need fuel for storing, you need fuel for your generators, you need fuel for your heaters, you need fuel for cooking, and you will need a lot of other things, including water. And so I have a lot of videos about water, and so if you wanted to take a look at them, it's going to be one of those topics that you also want to understand. And so that's it. This video was about just the layers of this problem. Now, if it is a national power outage, then you have a few hours until people figure out that there is no power in the country. And the panic that you are going to have, you can expect it within 12 hours. And at this point, I'm going to tell you that your biggest problem is going to be by day 2 and day 3, getting the freaking water. At this point, getting water is going to be one of those things in which you will see people trying to get water even from sewers. The reason being, well, how long can you be without water? Seriously, in your house, how long can you be without water? And how long will the water that you have stored will last you? Because here's the deal, as soon as somebody else finds out that you have a water tank, you will have a lot of neighbors that will come to your house begging you for water. And when that happens, if you tell no to your neighbors, you are going to have a lot of issues. So you will have to share a little bit with some of your neighbors, or you will have to have a plan, as in, why are you denying the water to your neighbors? And you will need a plan, because at this point, like I said, most people are going to be desperate to get a small bucket just to clean themselves, because that is going to be your major concern. It's not going to be even cooking, but rather cleaning yourself, because think about it, every single time that you are too stressed, the first thing that you do is take a bath or take a shower. and even wash your face, to the point in which there is a lot of people that will tell you, if you're too stressed, then go and cool off. And cool off means go to the bathroom and wash your face, okay? Especially for men. And so this is one of those topics that you need water for doing that. Cool off, and relax. Even kids, they are going to tell you something like, go and give the baby a bath, or give the kid a bath. That way they will be relaxed and they will be able to cope better with their own emotions and things like this. And so I have mentioned this before, it's an immunological process. You want to be aware of what immunological processes are, because that is going to be your major hidden problems. How are other people going to handle the situation? How are you going to handle the situation? And how these interactions are going to go within your family versus reality and expectation, because this one is going to be one of those things. And so if there is going to be a national power outage, I'm going to tell you right now that also frontiers are going to be closed or are going to be locked down. Your neighboring countries are not going to let people in. And they're going to try to take people out of the country, and it's going to go insane, because without documentation, you are not leaving the country. And without power, leaving a country is going to be very, very, very hard, especially through airports and things like this, because they require a lot of power. I mean, you could, in theory, you could run them out until the generators, run out of fuel and things like this, and that can take a while, but still, you will have most people, trying to live at the same time. And when that happens, it's going to be chaotic, and it's going to be extremely expensive. And the most important part is that if you have 100,000 people that are asking for passports within the same day, then the system for asking documentations is going to collapse. And so I have mentioned this before, your first priority for long-term problems, either there is no water or whatever it is, you need documentation, not even money. Money might not be able to solve all of your problems for you. You need documentation. Because even if you were to hire an airplane, a private airplane, you still need documentation to land in the other country. It's not like you're going to say something like, oh, I have a lot of money, so I don't need a passport. But yeah, I'm sorry, but you're in another country. The other country doesn't care. So yeah, you need passports, visa, whatever it is. And that means that you need documentation. And documentation is going to be one of those things that if there is a national power outage, you are not getting, no matter what. Because who is going to print passports when there is no power for printing? And so whatever it is that you require for printing is going to be a problem. Serious to God, it's going to be a problem. So documentation is going to be one of those things in which people will have, you will have to bribe people to try to get documentation, and you will have to do a lot of things. And even then, you still are not going to be able to pull this off. Because if you need one for you, you will also need one for each and every single one of your members in your family. And you may also have issues because your kids are going to ask for help for their friends or their boyfriend, girlfriend. Your wife might be asking you to get documentations for her family, or your husband is in the same thing, like I need documentation for my sister, my family also. So it's going to be huge deal because the money is not going to be enough, and at the same time all of your connections are not going to be enough, and this is going to cause a lot of problems. This is also one of the reasons why I have mentioned before that there will be a high probability of divorce, because a lot of at this point you will have people that will say I want to stay, and then you have people that will say I want to leave, and then you will have people that are thinking that they can handle the situation, or they just cannot leave. And if you cannot leave, then you gotta figure out how exactly are you going to make it happen. And so a lot of people will try to fix this problem by enduring it and then trying to get documentation and things like this so that they can live in a second wave or in a third wave or in a fourth wave. Maybe not in the first day of the power outage, but maybe a week later, maybe a month later, maybe a year from now. And so because a lot of people will say, this is just too risky, so it's better to wait. The problem is that when you are waiting, sometimes the opportunities will just not be there anymore, because if it is a total collapse of the whole thing, then yeah, your choices are going to be very, very, very limited. And so it's one of those things. Documentations can screw you over. Serious to God, it can screw you over, and it has screwed over hundreds, if not thousands of millions of people. And so, serious to God, documentation. And anyway, also, like I said, if the power outage happens when you are outside, like in a mall or in your office or in your gym or whatever it is, then I have mentioned this before. The first layer is your house when you are in it, but if you're not in your house, then you depend upon your EDC. You are serious to God, you're depending upon your EDC. So whatever it is that you have on you, that is what you're getting. You are not, unless you're telling me that you somehow got a special ring or something like this, like in the movies or like in the manga things, in which you can store a lot of things, and then all you have to do is drop a blood and drop a blood thing, and then the thing will have all kinds of things that you can just pull out, like if it was a rabbit out of a hat or something like this. Then serious to God, you need a plan for your EDC. That's why I started the channel with the EDC. So the EDC is a topic that you really, really, really need to take into consideration, because power outages will happen anywhere. That means that you can have a power outage when you're in an elevator or in any place, and you need a plan for signaling people. And for that you need, like I said, the best accessories available for the key rings, including but not limited to whistles and things like this, and any kind of light that you can handle within your key rings and things like this. And anyway, it's important that you understand these things, because if you're thinking that because there is a power outage it's going to be mayhem, no, it's not, unless it is a national thing. And even if it is a national thing, it will go through waves, and I have mentioned this before. And even then you can still manage to do this, because unless you're telling me that it came out of nowhere, as in people were not expecting it, then it's going to be way harder. However, if it's a slow collapse in which people are already aware of the fact that the system might collapse anytime soon, then a lot of people will have plans like fuel generators and all kinds of things. And so it will depend upon that one also. So anyway, thank you for staying tuned. See you again soon.